to anybody who frequents that establishment, but pretty much the only thing that you find there is people either dropping off their hopes or picking up their desperation. It's like, no, dude, chicken. The last good chicken fried steak that I had was at Cracker Barrel, and that's all you get there. You get that, and you get diarrhea. Those are the two things that you pick up at the Cracker Barrel. Both give you diarrhea. Jesus. You do know what a real restaurant is, right? Like you've been to a real one before. Look, man, I've been to Red Lobster, okay? I know what it feels like to go ISIS. I was like, wait a minute, how are you doing this? This is gonna be great. God damn right. Dude, welcome to my world. For people that work in production and that are you're a smart cookie. You're a sharp knife in the drawer. And I'm an audio guy, and every goddamn time it's like you're muted. It's like fuck you. Don't do it. Don't do it. Nope. Hi. Yeah. No. I can hear you wonderfully. Do you want me to record on my side or does it fucking matter? All right. Okay. Okay. What if they're just what? No. What if they're just hazing you? What is like, oh, you're muted? What?
Okay. I think we're
I'm
good.
taking this opportunity to
Good. There, we're
just
good. We're good. We're good. Okay, sorry. You're taking this opportunity to do what?
taking this opportunity to just assess all of the accoutrement decor that's behind you and,
Yeah.
and just the absolute fucking poem that it is.
It is. It is a. It is a career of just joy.
Yeah.
There we go. It's a career of joy and it's a career of gratitude because so much of what is starting to fill that wall behind me is stuff from fans of the stuff we've done. Or stuff from fans of the actual stream that I've been doing for the last couple of years. And so it's been a real neat thing to watch that wall expand with fan art and things like that and the stuff that's mine go away. Like somebody made me a sweet tooth truck. Somebody made me a Twisted Metal beautiful poster. So I was an Atari kid. Somebody made me an Atari box of the actual Twisted Metal, which obviously was never on Atari. So, but anyway, so Troy is here. I'm sorry about the technical difficulties. Look, fellas, I'm a designer. I'm not a fucking programmer. Give me a goddamn break. The point is, Troy is here. We are going to be, his time is limited. I want to do calls with Troy. I know you guys want to talk to Troy. I got a lot to say to the man. Right before the sound was working, he and I were talking about Cracker Barrel, which is the greatest restaurant in the world, second only to Olive Garden. And then we were also talking about, you were saying, we were talking about nudity in performance capture. And I thought when you mentioned God of War, I thought you said, well, oh, you're talking about the new one. And I'm like, I know Corey's a freak, but I don't think he was doing the naked nudity in that one. And you said, no, this was from Ascension. So what you were actually, there was nudity in that game?
No. Well, I mean, so I'm trying to remember if there's definitely love scenes, but this is what's great about one of the advantages that like performance capture has over shooting film is people were asking. I did an interview the other day. I can't remember who it was, but we're talking about the difference between, hey, what is the trade-off? Do you rather do VO or do you rather do performance capture? I was like, here's the difference. There's a commerce of trust that occurs depending upon what venue I'm operating in, what medium I'm in. So like if it's going to be a straight VO thing, they're giving me less tools and I'm giving them more trust.
Okay, right.
When it's performance capture, they give me more tools and they give me more trust. Right? So it's like now it's my performance, it's my face, it's my body, and they're giving me more to do, and with that comes more responsibility. And then when it's film, that director is completely trusting you to be able to do exactly what's in their mind or surprise them and blow it out of the water what they had in mind. So if you do a love scene, I mean, it's going to be like, we can't cheat this. We need you to. We're gonna see all of and everything.
Wait, you mean a love scene in performance capture?
In a film.
But they can't see everything. They can't see everything in a film. You're covered up. You got merkins and all that shit, right?
You could do that. Like you could do we're gonna pan over to the fireplace, right? As you
No. You've made a love scene in a movie before, like live action, correct? Because they weren't filming your dick.
Not filmed in Chatsworth.
Right? They weren't filming your penis. They don't know if you're.
No, I mean that's porn.
That's what I thought you were saying. They can see your.
But I'm saying like if I were to do a love scene, then there's going to be that. But like full on.
Right.
Get, like you're getting an ass shot or you're gonna get something like that.
Yeah.
But, like, a performance capture is like, oh no. You wear the same wardrobe. Nothing changes aesthetically because we're just gonna either. I remember one of my favorite things is Shadow of Mordor that we were doing, and the actress that was playing. Oh my god, I'm blanking on her name right now. But anyway, she's like, I feel like my character would stand up at this moment and make a presence. I'm like, okay, cool, strong choice. Don't disagree with you.
And you directed that, right? You were also the director on that.
I directed Shadow of War, which was the sequel.
Okay.
I directed, to be very clear, because this is often a conflated and misunderstood term. A director of a game is not the same as the director of a film.
Of course.
So for me to do, and I wasn't even the cinematics director. There's even an oversight for the cinematics. My job was sculpting, crafting the scenes when we were shooting them.
Okay.
So it's working with the actors, it's working with the blocking, it's understanding where the cameras were going to go and all that kind of stuff. So a director of a game is that's a Herculean, incredible task. But this actor was saying, he's like, I would stand because my presence would be like, you're not wrong. Your model doesn't have legs.
Okay.
Like, what do you mean my model doesn't have legs? Why wouldn't I? Is she a cripple? Is there something? I was like,
that's it.
No, we literally there is head and there is dress and that's it. There's no skeleton. Everything's just ones and zeros. So the funny thing about that is sometimes it works for your advantage and other times it doesn't, because when you do have to I've had to do makeout scenes before.
Maybe she was like, I can sell this, Troy. Just let me try it without the legs. That's right. I'm that good.
Yes.
That's right. So sorry. So when you're doing a love scene,
I had to do a makeout scene, and there's just multiple layers of awkward. So number one, this is for Infamous Second Son, and my character Delson, depending upon which way you go, could have a romance with Laura Bailey's character Fetch. And so in one of the paths, if you just were like, I fucking hate everybody, and I'm taking out aggression in the form of this game with my powers, and I'm going full red, as we said, versus blue, which is good. You go, vigilante or villain kind of thing. Then you, as it's said in the script, you violently make out with Fetch. Now, Laura Bailey is like in every sense of the word, my little sister. So,
and you've done a lot with her. I mean, you've been in a bunch of stuff.
Together.
Yeah.
Bogey and Bacall without
the
romance.
Okay.
It's like we've just always have been paired up. And
Is that conscious? Like, do you refer and they refer, or it just happens that way? It's just luck.
Most of the time, it happens that way. There's been a few things where I'm like, we should just get Laura in on this.
Gotcha. Okay.
But it's just, look, people are like, the same people get cast in the same games. Like, the reason why is because we have a shorthand with this. We understand how it works. And
you have a range too, though. Some of these guys that people complain about, you can always tell, and they're wonderful, but you can tell. But your range is insanely impressive. I mean, the fact that you've played the Joker and Batman, I mean, seriously, I mean, and you couldn't tell the fucking difference. I mean, I saw some of the stuff from Long Halloween, which is coming out. I guess is it a Halloween release, or when is it coming out?
Oh, it's coming out like in a few weeks.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that's the.
Gary Mariani would be pissed at me right now.
Well, I looked.
Screaming at it. Tell her when it releases.
That's right.
Why? Exactly
the director of Throw Mama from the actress in Throw Mama from the Train is the director.
He loves his mama.
That's right.
June 22nd is available on digital and Blu-ray.
Well, yeah, I had to look like 3 times ago. This is a mistake. That's not Troy. Maybe Troy's playing Batman. It's like, no, you're the fucking Joker in that thing. So, but anyway, okay. So you and Laura Bailey are doing this thing.
Yeah, hang on, kids. This one's gonna be bouncing around.
Yeah, they're used to it
for sure.
Yeah, I took my ADD meds. I'm good.
Good.
Ish.
So Laura and I have to do this scene, and what makes it even worse is her. I think they were married at that point. Yeah, they were married.
Okay.
Her husband, Travis Willingham, who is equally like my brother, is on set as well, playing my older brother Reggie. And
holy shit, that's weird.
They're like, oh, well, Travis, you're wrapped out. We just need to get this one scene with Laura and Troy. And he goes, oh, I'm not going anywhere.
Right.
I'm going to sit here and make this because he knows how uncomfortable it is for them. And so Laura and I were kind of walking in the volume, pacing back and forth like 2 cage fighters, kind of eyeing each other up. You're like, are you ready to do this? Let's fucking do it. And we just had to violently make out. And it's just, it's never ever not awkward. Now I've talked to people who have had to do love scenes with whether it be on film, for TV or for film, doesn't matter. It's never good. It's always technical. It's always devoid of emotion. It's always this incredible, because number one, you've got a fucking Ari, with a 50 lens just like passing right over by you, and for most people, that's not going to get them in the mood.
Okay, but you're in a really interesting career, at least for a lot of what you do, in the sense that there's voiceover where it's not really a problem, where you have to do a makeout scene. I mean, it's a problem. You have to perform, but it's not. You're not actually.
Sounds as awkward.
That's probably true. That's probably true. Yeah.
And you guys.
Moist.
Make sure
we need a little more moistness.
The tongue. We're not hearing the tongue or that.
Oh, but then obviously there's the live action. But performance capture is kind of interesting in the sense that, and this might be an insult to one of the 2 actors, but let's just take that scene that you're talking about. I mean. Sure. A director could argue, it's like, well, I know this is awkward because she's like your little sister, and Troy, you're married, I think, yeah. Put your wife in the suit. No one's going to be able to tell. We'll map her skeleton onto the skeleton. Go make out with your wife, because that'll be real and that'll be totally comfortable. I mean, is that something that if a director proposed, you would go, are you out of your goddamn mind? Or would you go, okay, that's a pretty good solve to this?
What's funny is I would question the director that did that.
Okay, why?
Because as a first of all, it's not an insult, but it's like, that's not the solve. Like, I appreciate you conceding to me, but there's 50 other people that are on this set, and there's 250 people back at the studio that are making this game.
Okay.
And just because it might potentially be uncomfortable for me.
No, not because it's uncomfortable, but because it could be more authentic. It could be a better performance. Or is that that's what I'm saying, is that the insult to the actor?
I think it's the insult. I think it's more an insult. I think the director would be like, look, this wasn't a surprise scene that the writer said, what if we did this? What if we wrote this? It's going to be baked in. There needs to be whatever Campbellian, where the needle falls in the wheel. We need to have this moment, and we believe that it can best be sold by some form of romance. And because, I mean, look, how far do you take that? It's like, all right, it's going to be, your character is is gay, and you're going to have there needs to be a love relationship between these two characters, but to make it more authentic, what we're going to do is we're going to put your wife in the place of this. To like, yo, that's not the gig. The gig is to fucking knuckle up, and first of all, you should probably have someone who's gay actually playing that role if you want to do that. But my point is that the director should be able to say, is like, this is what the job requires. So what I need to do is cast someone who I don't have to constantly be making concessions for. And I think it extends to a certain part where you can say, all right, this person doesn't actually have a British accent, but Troy can do a pretty good British accent.
Right.
Doesn't fucking matter. It doesn't change the character. This character doesn't come from Kent or Sheffield. He comes from Middle Earth. He's a ranger on the Black Gate. Right. So people equate that with its established lore. Fucking do your British accent, and we'll call it a day. But I the gig to me is like, there was this game that I was going to be in that got canceled. I was so stoked for it. Great team. It was just one of the attrition of the industry.
Sure,
of
course.
We can't support this. So this is not a disparagement on the team at all. But I was so stoked because I've always wanted to play a blind character. Hashtag Marvel. Hashtag Daredevil. Hashtag strongly want that role. But anyway.
Didn't they already cast that role? I hate to say that.
Well, I mean, dude, Chris Cox.
No, but I mean, he was Charlie Cox.
Charlie Cox.
Yeah.
Chris Cox's buddy.
Yeah.
Charlie Cox crushed it. And I had the opportunity to sit and tell him, I was like, listen, man, I was side-eyeing everybody. And I had my arms folded.
Right.
When I saw this, like, because I was a huge Boardwalk Empire fan. So I'm a massive fan of Charlie's work.
Yeah.
But I was like, you can do you blonde hair or red, but you can't have this dark-haired Irish actor coming in playing a kid from Hell's Kitchen. It's like, you can't do that.
Right.
And then Charlie goes, yes, you can. Watch this. And I was like, holy shit. You reminded me that these characters exist outside of my perception of them.
Right,
and
right.
That, my friend, is something that I have deep now experiential knowledge of what happens when a fan, I'm using rabbit quotes, a fan will not allow the character to supersede or surpass their perception of them.
Oh, I hate you don't have a lot of time because I want to talk Black Superman with you, obviously, because I want to talk all this shit with you. Because, I mean, I don't know which one you're referring to. I'm assuming you might be referring to Joel in the HBO show. I mean, what is it?
No, see, here's the deal. People were like, he's not my Joel. He's like, he's not your Joel.
Right.
And he's also not my Joel. And it's not Sony's Joel or Naughty Dog's Joel or Neil's Joel. The character exists outside of our ownership of him.
Right.
If I can't fucking claim him, you can't.
Well, people, I think, expect you to be upset. Right? That's what they want. They want you to be like, fuck that Mandalorian motherfucker. I should be Joel.
Or look, they're just doing this because they're ticking the woke box, and they're doing this because it's diversity. And I'm like, no, that's not what this is at all.
Right.
This is, people are forgetting the fact that Pedro Pascal is a fucking amazing actor.
Yeah.
He's incredible. And all I've wanted out of this is I asked Neil the same question. I was like, why do a show? We've shot it, lit it. We've done a further, way, way deeper than what film could do. And this is at the time when they were talking about the movie. And he says, because at the end of the day, there's somebody that's not going to pick up the controller and play this game. And I believe the story is important enough for me to get over myself and bring the story to them rather than waiting for them to come to the story.
Okay.
And I went, well, God damn it. So if I'm not saying that this is the gospel, but it's like, go to the fucking people and say, listen, this is a really interesting, compelling story that we believe everybody should at least understand. And you don't get it with a playthrough. There's some people, and I'm not.
I understand. I totally understand. Yeah.
There is something that happens when you hit winter in part 1, and you do this on the analog stick, and that girl that's been next to you the entire time moves. There is nothing that can capture that. That is just something that is visceral, and it is experienced. I don't want HBO, Craig, Neil, anybody, Pedro, to do that. You can't do it. So do something different. And if you do that, I don't want it to be. Look, Josh Brolin was my original. I was like, go to Josh. I even saw Josh in the airport lounge one time. I was like, listen, man, if they ever come to you, just know that you were as far of a beacon as you might have been on the horizon. You were definitely a light that was guiding me towards this character.
Did he know what? Did he know what The Last of Us was? Is he familiar with that world, or was
Not
he
at the time, because the game had like just come out, so there wasn't this like. Josh and I first met in Madrid, not Madrid, but Madrid, New Mexico. He was doing No Country, and I was doing this Western called Comanche Moon. And there were like 4 different productions that were happening in town because New Mexico was popping.
Mm-hmm.
And it was one night we're at this like fucking sawdust on the floor roadhouse. Like it was like Patrick Swayze and Sam Elliott should have been out there just kicking ass. It was a badass place.
Right.
And Val Kilmer was our number one on that show, and he said, "Come." I was gonna stay in, and he goes, "Come out. We're gonna have fun." And so I walk through, and I'm looking around, and I do not belong here. Like I went rock star at a fucking honky tonk, and it was just everything but the record player scratching when I walked in the door happened.
Okay.
People looked me up and down and are like, who's this fancy booze boy walking in?
Right.
I'm like, no, I'm from Texas. I'm good. And Val kind of waves me. I was like, hey, here we are. And he was like, they're in the middle of this conversation, and Val goes, hey, Troy, sorry to interrupt, guys. Troy, this is Josh, Ray, and John. And I was like, hey. And it was Josh Brolin, Ray Liotta, and John Travolta. And
nice.
He was like, sit down, have a beer with us. And I was like, fuck. And Ray Liotta is the most intense person I think I've ever met in my life.
Right.
But Josh Brolin and I, we got to, talking, and he had just gotten after he had this bad motorcycle accident, and he was like still recovering from that. So he shot No Country with this bad shoulder injury. Huge respect for him. And so we got on well. And then I was like, I don't know if you remember this. And I was like, I do remember that night. It's like, man, if you ever get a call from Sony, just at least consider it.
Right.
Because I think you would be perfect for this. But that's because I wanted Joel to be it matched the concept art that I had in my head that I kept with me going to set every day. This is stupid, man, but whenever we step foot on set, I didn't see myself. And this is maybe bad. I don't know. There's probably some directors and actors that would kick against this and go, well, that's not true or whatever. But whenever we were in a scene, if I were ever like to zoom out and go outside of my own, perspective, I saw Joel. I saw that character model moving around in that space.
Right.
So it wasn't like I was acting. It was like that's what the guy looks like. So I didn't see myself in there. And that is to a lot of credit for Neil, because I didn't get that until I stopped going behind Video Village and asking for playback so I could watch what the reference cameras were seeing.
Right. So, okay. But you don't look at Pedro, you don't look at the HBO show and you're not going, that should have been mine. You get it. You're comfortable with it.
I did it, man.
Yeah, right. Exactly. Well, I see people don't. Yeah.
There's literally nothing else that I could have done, unless Neil goes, "Hey, I've got something that's extra canonical that doesn't exist, and we want to do this."
Right.
Look, man, I'm going to pick up that phone every day.
Right. Understood.
Twice on Sunday.
Understood.
But when it comes to this, I want them to tell a different story. I want to learn something different about Joel that I never imagined. And I already, just with stuff that Neil goes, hey, I want to let you know about this, or Craig's been like, this is something interesting I think we could tell you right now. I'm like, that's fucking cool.
Right.
And it's challenging. But the point of the show is not to go, fans, are you happy? It's like, you've never seen this show, and if you have, did you ever think about this? Look, Earth 1 did the same thing, right? To be able to flip the entire Batman lore on its ear and go, what if Thomas Wayne was an asshole?
Right.
And what if Alfred was a badass?
Right.
What if he was the one that trained him? It wasn't the League of Shadows, and it wasn't, that's what the whole point of an established character is. Just go, how far can we bend this before?
So why do you think, whether it's Batman, whether it's Last of Us, whether it's, anything, Superman these days that people are talking about, why is it that, because I'm the same way when people ask me, they're like, are you salty that the new God of War gets all this accolades and, you know, people are saying the old God of War isn't as good as the new God of War, whatever. I'm like, dude, I laid my bricks. I'm very happy with my contributions. But there is a perception amongst people outside looking in. They feel like we need to be angry, and I don't want to judge them for it so much as I want to understand, why do you think that's the go-to assumption amongst fandom, that a lot of creatives are being slighted when something evolves?
I believe it all comes down to, dude, we could distill this down to 3 words.
Okay.
It is not a bumper sticker. It is not a T-shirt. It is not a self-help book. It is a literal understanding that I am enough.
Right.
So I have tattooed on my arm the same thing that was inscribed above the Temple of Delphi as you walked in, and it said "Gnote Sauton," which is know thyself. Mm-hmm. And if I know who I am, and my focus is figuring out me and controlling my thoughts and my actions and not giving a fuck about what anybody else thinks or feels or has an opinion about, then this is a full-time job for me. I don't know about you, but like me just making sure that I don't say something or do something stupid is a 24/7 occupation.
Right.
And if I sit here and worry about, well, what about this person? The reason why all of this boils down to that is because once I realize I can't control it, the only thing I can control are my thoughts and my actions. But I want to control politics. I want to control the movie. I want to control the game. I want to control other people. I want to do this because then I feel like I have impact in the world. It's the same reason why I pick up a fucking controller and play a game, so that I have agency in a world and the world responds to me. So the reason why people push back is because they feel like if they throw their vitriol out, at least I did something. At least I said something. I'm contributing to the conversation. You're not, because it's all monologues. It has no discourse whatsoever. Twitter is not. You and I both, man, have been pulled in to a litany of conversations that we have no business, and nothing good will come out of it. We're not even going to talk about it, but there's one person in particular in games journalism that is just the one person that gets me going.
Jason.
And I'm not going to confirm or deny that.
Jason Schreier! Nice to meet you, sir. Well, why does he get you going?
Because he comes from my friends.
He comes for your friends.
And that is something that I am. Look, Jason is I don't fault him for what he's doing, because he's doing what we all do, which is trying to monetize our passions. He's a very passionate writer.
Right.
And there's an article that he just wrote where he cites his own book. A new article talks about, I was like, or an excerpt from a book reveals the troubled.
Oh, right. Yeah, I saw that this was like, a Polygon thing or something. Yeah.
It's like, it's your book that you're citing, and it's an article written by him. I was like, that's not journalism.
No, well, no. I mean, but what is these days, unfortunately, when it comes to games journalism? But that's a different. I mean,
and I know what's going to happen. And Jason is probably, will somehow catch wind of this, and it'll come for me. It doesn't matter, because I don't.
Yeah, who
care.
gives a shit? Who gives a shit?
Yeah,
man?
I give no stock or no value. But what I'm saying is that is something that I'm still doing work on myself, because what I want to do, dude, I have a whole thing called drafted and deleted. I will draft up that fucking response. I will draft that tweet, that email, and I will sit and I will cathartically let it out, and then I will do my best to burn it. Because the problem is I want to get to the point where I don't even need to draft it. That to me is the next metamorphosis, the next level of evolve. But the reason why I think they come after creators is because I believe that Jason feels he is trying to do something that is better for the industry. I don't think that he is this nefarious Machiavellian person who goes, oh, I bet I'm going to stir up a bunch of shit just because I want to.
Right.
I think that he is genuinely trying to make the industry better by exposing its weaknesses. The problem is that I don't think he thinks for a second, or I don't think he pauses and considers for the fact that everybody that he's writing about, everybody he's talking about goes, No shit, Sherlock.
Right.
We understand that it doesn't work great, but fucking get in the ring.
Well, yeah, or the fact that it's like, I've said this about this guy before, or a lot of these guys before that write about crunch. I've been like, well, did you stay up till 3 a.m. editing your article? Did you stay up till like the sun came up to check your sources? The answer is probably yes, if you're good at your job, which means you crunch too. You know, you're either an A player or you're not, and there's no shame in not being an A player. But I think the only shame I would say is if you go to work at, say, Naughty Dog, and at this point you're a moron if you haven't done your research. But let's just say you've been living on the moon,
You're surprised,
and you're surprised. Like if a new company pops up and they tell you they're not that kind of company and they are that kind of company, okay, you have a right to be mad. But it's like going to work for Steve Jobs or Neil Druckmann or Sony Santa Monica and going, what do you mean I don't go home every night at 5:30? It's like, yeah, because you're playing in the big leagues. That's how it goes. You don't have to play in the big leagues. There's no shame in not playing in the big leagues.
Or anybody that's on any kind of sport and goes, hold on, guys. I know that this is the World Cup, but we've been running for quite some time.
That's right. That's right.
Let's take a break for a second. The one thing that I will say explicitly before anybody wants to get, their whatever up in a bind and quote me, I have, depending upon the where my seat is positioned at the tables that I've been fortunate enough to be sat at.
Yeah.
So if it's, I always try to partner. I love that there's this conversation right now happening is what is a developer? And that by and large, even people that are at the dev go, if you help us make our game, you're a developer. We extend that to some. Now, that doesn't mean that you have the right to be able to go, the FedEx guy can't go in. It's like, what you need to do with that level.
Right.
It's like, I understand. But in the same way, like, I give so much credit to Brian Fleming from Sucker Punch, because that fool schooled me, man. Like I love him for the cold. He is a no bullshit person. He's a math genius, and he just speaks in very fucking ones and zeros, and that's what I needed at the time. He told me after we did Infamous Second Son, and some people may have heard me tell the story, but for your benefit. I went up to Seattle and I was doing a postmortem with him. He's like, hey, man, so we do this with everybody that's critical to our team. We want to hear your thoughts. How could we have made this game better? And I told him. And he took it all in stride. He's like, okay, it's very good. I appreciate that. Now, Turnabout's fair play. Are you okay with me? And he asked for my permission. I was like, dude, bring it on. I can take it. He goes, you are a very powerful force. And I said, thank you. He goes, it's not a compliment. You are trying to enact change too far down the river. When we come to set and we hand you pages and you go, I think maybe, what if we did this? He goes, like, you are negating all of the work and refusing to acknowledge the fact that battles have been fought over the words that you're trying to change. There's blood on the pages that we've handed you. And I was like, I need to be further up the river. He's like, yeah, absolutely. And the reality is there is no top. That water flows down from the top of the mountain, but that top of the mountain doesn't get water unless it rains. And it doesn't rain unless it flows into the ocean, and that evaporates and goes into the atmosphere and then falls down as rain. It's the cyclical thing. You can't ever say, I'm at the top, I'm the boss. Tim Miller, wonderful director that I've had the opportunity to work with. Tim looked at me and he goes, here's directing in a nutshell. It's meetings, and every once in a while, I get the opportunity to go to set and have fun.
Right.
But it's all meetings. It's like, I'm not in charge. I'm not the boss. So if I have an opportunity to sit down at a table, then I may have some voice. But that is a very limited, I'm not a day-to-day person at the studio. I'm not a day-to-day person at the dev. But I make sure that every big project, in some way, and COVID has made it hard, but in some way, I go to the studio. I meet the team. I love to walk past QA. And just go, thank you for your fucking service, for laying your lives down and falling on swords daily so that we don't have to play a broken game. That's the job of a QA person, is to play a broken game.
I started in QA. It was quite interesting. Okay, so that that obviously is going to lead me to my next question, though, which is, because all that you're saying, I agree with. I don't know if I was directing a game and you were in the game, even though I would agree with what Brian is saying. I'm like, if I've got a great actor on set and he's got notes, granted, it would have been my job or my producer's job to say, hey, can you get Troy's input before he steps on set so it's not disruptive? But, you know, if you can make the scene better, I'm going to want to hear that, even if there's more blood on the page. But I understand.
The scene better. Yeah, the scene better, sure. But what I was talking about is this fool was coming in with high-level changes.
Oh, you're like, maybe if the powers were wind-based and not electricity-based. Like, okay, yeah, okay.
Motherfucker, you're talking about completely... Like, there's design.
Sure, okay.
One of my favorite moments was... And this is something that I thought was low level, but it's understanding the concept. And there's a friend of mine that had a great quote that will kind of solve this up. But we were doing Shadow of Mordor, the first one, and I wanted to call over. It was played by, I think it was played by Walt Gray, who loved that I talked about him. But the line was "Soldier, come here," something like that. I was like, I feel like Talion would know every name of his soldier, and he would want to give him, call him by his name. It's like, Faramore, come here, or whatever the fuck his name was going to be.
Okay.
And he was like, oh, you want to give him... That's a character-led question, right? That made me feel comfortable. And Christian Cantamessa, who was our director, goes, oh, you want to give him a name? You want to give him a name? Okay, how about this? How about we go to Monolith and get them to sign off on it. Then we get Warner Brothers to sign off on it. Then we get Sol Zantz, who's the leader, in charge of the Tolkien estate. Then we get, Peter Jackson has to sign off on this as well, because you don't want to call him Soldier. I was like, okay. So it's understanding the realm of the sphere of influence that I have on a specific project. A friend of mine, Steve Zahn, said, he gave me some advice. It was very passing advice. He wasn't meaning to be profound, but he goes, we were walking to set, and I was like, slow down, Captain, because we called them by their character's name. It was Captain Call.
Okay.
And I said, or Captain Gus. I said, slow down, Captain. He was like, never be the one they're waiting on. And that right there, regardless of whether you're an actor, coder, QA, accounting, doesn't matter. Never be the one they're waiting on. Because what that inherently implies is that I have to understand I'm not the most important person on that set. And I believe to never be the one they're waiting on. So if I'm thinking about that, then I understand there's other people that are trying to make this game too besides me. And Neil was one who taught me something. Is like, you always want to change the line. Instead, because that's your go-to thing. And he goes, instead, what if it's, help me understand this. What am I missing about this character? What am I doing? What do I not understand about this scene? What do I not understand about the story?
When you say you always want to change the line, you mean he was suggesting that you have a tendency to always want to adjust the dialogue.
Always.
Okay.
If something, even if I just tripped over a word or something, like, it feels a little weird for me to say this, I want to change this. He goes like, okay, we look at it. It's like, well, I want to say this. I would rather say this. I'm like, he would consider it okay. But then he came to me, and he never did this like on set in front of people as theater. Right. He always did it as an aside. A lot of times he would do it after rap when we were walking to our cars. And he's like, hey, just real quick, I want to let you know why this. And he would always ask me a question. I'm like, well, because, I'm here to guide you. You don't know this, but I'm very adept at my job. And the way that you write a lot of times just doesn't fall out of my mouth. And he's like, okay. What a terrible, shitty thing to say to somebody.
Right.
And he was like, cool. Maybe ask, what do I not understand about this character? What do I not understand about this story? What do I not understand about what you're trying to, what's the intent that I'm missing? Because, the implication of me changing the line is whether it be tacit or not, is me telling the writer, you didn't do your job, and so it's my job to make it better. Now, if I'm coming in and going, I have a question, for some reason, it's more comfortable for me to say, I want to make sure that this doesn't change the intention. If I say, hey, what's up, as opposed to what's going on. Does that, actually, we're going to call back to what's going on, and that's going to be something that we do.
There's a lot there. So, okay, that makes sense. So here's what I want to, by the way, if you catch me looking over to the right or the left, I hate that when I'm doing interviews. I'm like, there's a screen here and a screen here, and people are giving me feedback on audio levels and all that stuff. So I'm not distracted. I've never taken into account, dude. I've got screens everywhere. Okay, because I've been in interviews before, and the guys are like, so Jeffy, what about this? And they're like, I'm like, are you out of your fucking mind? But anyway, so the team, QA, thank you for your service. I get it. 100%. I've been there. But the thing that is, I'm dying to ask you, because you're really at the top of the food chain in video game, in animation in general, but certainly video game voiceover. You know, there was the strike. One of the big issues with the strike was we want residuals. And understandably, because everybody in SAG, I guess SAG and IATSE a while ago blended, right? It's the same thing now. There's no longer IATSE and SAG. It's just all SAG, right?
No, IATSE, but IATSE covers something completely different. So
TV
IATSE they'll be for crew. So SAG and AFTRA.
Oh, AFTRA, right. Those
AFTRA,
blended.
Yeah, those blended. So AFTRA covered radio and TV.
Okay.
SAG started dabbling into TV, and they were like, well, why are we doing this? We're competing for the same people.
Right.
Let's just blend, and it became SAG-AFTRA.
Okay,
but yeah,
so these guys...
IATSE's a union.
Right, that's
crew.
right. That's right. My brother's was an IATSE. Okay, so they're like, look, one of our big sticking points is residuals. Everybody in SAG, whether we're in animation, whether we're in, you know, national commercials, you know, not national commercials, but what, you know, residuals is a thing. Why can't we get residuals in video games? And I'm curious what your perspective is on that, because I mean, you know, I got into it on Twitter with Zelda Williams a little bit. And I like her, and I think she's funny and talented, but she was insistent that voiceover and performance capture artists should be getting residuals. And I said, I don't think they shouldn't. I said, but ultimately that's going to be bad for them, because I can guarantee you're going to see studios say, we're not doing this. If Troy Baker and Nolan North get to drive Ferraris because of Nathan Drake and Joel and Sam Drake, and the guy, and Neil Druckmann doesn't, although he does, but yeah, he doesn't drive a Ferrari, but you know, but you know, if the lead programmer, or if the lady who figured out how to make the animation brilliant, if they're just lucky to get a bonus from Sony, and the minute they leave Sony, they never see another dime, I could see Sony going, as much as we would love this quality performance, and as much as fans have come to expect it, we can't tump over the apple cart, right? I mean, but that was my perspective from a developer. But from a guy who makes a living at this, and who obviously, you know, I assume you would love residuals for this stuff. I mean, how do you square that with also the fact that you're walking past QA and understanding the fact that these guys are on the front lines right there with you, and for a longer period of time?
There was a comedian who had a bit about being on one of the first flights that had offers, like, we're proud to offer you high-speed internet on this flight.
Right.
And then 5 minutes into the flight or whatever, it's like, oh, we apologize, you know, the Wi-Fi isn't working. And he said this person next to him was like, fucking bullshit.
Oh, I saw, this was Louis C.K.
Was it Louis C.K.?
Yeah.
And he goes, how do you get upset about something you didn't know existed?
Right. You non-contributing zero is what he called him. Yeah.
And I don't look. I'm victim of this as well. I get frustrated when this is weird for a second.
Yeah.
When my internet is weird, or when, but it's literally the thing that I'm working through the hardest, when a simple machine does not perform the function for which it's designed. It's like, then don't say you can do this thing if you don't do it every time. That's bad design.
Okay.
So I get very frustrated at some of the games too. Is like, you just did this for the purpose of covering your ass on your design.
Okay.
The reason why it became a conversation is because you could point to and go, but they got that. Why can't I get that?
Who was the they got that? Which one specifically?
So most people don't understand that, like, the way that TV started off is, we can get into the whole film route, and as far as like that, those were indentured servants for the studio system. And we're treated one from chattel. When Alfred Hitchcock said there are props that eat, he was being, it wasn't being humorous. He was that literally how he thought.
Yeah.
But TV, Rod Serling has a great talk about this, and he says, you know, when TV was born, it wasn't like people were like, let's spend all of the dollars on creating content for this. It was, we now have programming that we can offer. Who's going to pay for this, though? Because there was no NBC. There was no big, you know, billion, trillion dollar corporations that were just, there was no Netflix. There was no HBO. There were no people cranking out content.
Right.
There were simply companies that had money. There was oil companies like Gulf Western. There was tobacco companies like Philip Morris. There was gas stations like Conoco. These were the people that had the money. They're like, well, we'll fucking spend money on these boxes that people have. They're going to watch it every night.
Okay.
Because people were wrapped with attention. They were like, well, we can't have a show with you talking about our oil is great. You should smoke our cigarettes. I'm like, well, what if we did, who's that funny comedian, Milton Berle? What if we did like a show with him and he brought on whatever he wanted and we just every, 5 minutes or so just said, brought to you by Philip Morris, or it's the Conoco Hour. So all of the programming was being driven by advertising dollars. And there was advertising dollars that were being spent around that. So if a show was successful, people would buy the product, and the company would go, hey, here's a little extra kickback for you because your show is really performing well. That continued on throughout, that mentality throughout commercials especially, and TV, and now into film, because people started going, well, wait a minute, there's more money than what I'm getting. It's like, well, yeah, the people that make this, that put the money up, they get money if this thing does really, really well. It's like, well, it wouldn't have done really, really well if I hadn't been a part of it. Okay, tell you what, if we paid you to shoot this thing and we're going to put it on air once. If they do it again, we'll give you something for that. And if they do it again, we'll give you something for that derivative until it's nothing. Fine, that's awesome. And then syndication happens. And it's like, oh, this thing is playing throughout the world nonstop. You're making millions of dollars off of that. And the second that no one thought that far ahead going, guys, do you realize we're going to be paying millions of dollars? Yeah, but we'll be making millions of dollars. Like, no. This will eventually get to the point to where it's an untenable situation. And that's where we find ourselves. So having the wisdom of that, the video game companies were like, absolutely fucking not. We're a software company. We're not an entertainment company. Yeah, but you're contributing to the entertainment industry. Yeah. But that's just because that's our market and that's our customer base. But we exist as a software company. Gulf Western was never an entertainment company, but they produced all of the shows in the 70s and the 80s.
Okay.
So that's where Paramount came from. That's where, if you like Gulf Western and everything, that's where the mountain comes from. So video game industries dug in their heels and publishers dug in their heels and said, absolutely fucking not. We already had to negotiate this with our developers and our studios that make the content for us, and we have a bonus structure in place for them. We're not going to do this with actors. So that makes any other side that's oppositional go, well, fuck you, and we'll dig in, and you'll see, look at how this game that has actors in it really sold a lot of your copies of your game, that we can actually calculate and extrapolate how much we would have made off of that. Now we have hard figures, and now it becomes this huge argument. What no one is considering, and not for sake of intelligence or passion, or as you said, what is due to them, is the fact that if they did it, it would sink the ship. And what would end up happening is if this industry, this union, this guild that protects its members from being in a dangerous situation, that makes sure that there's minimums that are being met, that there are safe hours that are, those are the things.
And those they got, which I think most people celebrated, right? I mean, there was.
Oh my God, the fact that I work an 8-hour day or a 4-hour day or less, Jesus Christ, is awesome. Yeah. Put it to you this way. In 1864, I think it was. No, probably I think let's say 1864. Abraham Lincoln, very shortly before his death, signed into existence a new entity, a new branch of the government that had one sole purpose, and it was to go throughout the country and round up all of the Confederate money. It was a part of the Treasury Department that its sole existence was go and find every bit of money that's out there. Because number one, the problems that could occur by having this false money out there, even it had nothing to do with like and root out this evil. It was no, there are still people that can consider this currency, and if we don't get rid of it, people will still trade in it. Okay. And we can't do that. So he didn't want this to be a very publicized group of the government. So he called it the Secret Service. And that's what this industry, that's what that
Group
part of the government, the stem of the government was designed to do. And then all of a sudden it's like, well, we got the Confederate money. Now what do we do? Fucking watch the president. And that's what the Secret Service does.
Okay.
So this guild was never designed to be an accounting department for residuals.
Okay. So then you're saying then, at least your perspective, being one of the top guys, you disagreed with their fight for residuals.
I disagreed. Here's what I disagreed with. I think that anybody that comes to the table and says, here's the button, we'll push the button if you don't do this, that's not negotiation.
Yeah.
That doesn't lead to anything. That is like Sun Tzu would look at that and go, did you not read my book? It is all about, because here's the problem. And here's what ended up happening is that they go, fine, we'll do a buyout. We'll do an upfront payment, because this is what happens. If you're on a set and you work a 12-hour day and you go, you could only work 12 hours or you have to pay money.
Right.
Producers go, how much? Fucking go away. And they'll write you the check and you'll leave. That's what happens. So I knew what was going to happen is like, you either do this or you have to pay a penalty. Like, fine, fuck it, go away. We'll pay you the money. But we're not going to do this in perpetuity. We're not going to do this to where we now have to assign Dennis in our thing to just watch over this one SKU for this one group of people. Or even better is like, these are people that are constantly going, A, toilet paper, or B, toilet paper, which is equally as effective and can save us money. Because at scale, that's tens of thousands of dollars in toilet paper over the cost of development.
Right, that's right.
So they're going, and then you go, this actor, Troy, is X amount of dollars. This actor, Jackhole, is this amount of dollars. Right. Like, get Jackhole's like, yeah, but we don't get the same performance. Fuck it. We'll work with Jackhole, and now Jackhole could be beyond Troy Baker. That's how this Jackhole got a job, is because I was cheaper than somebody else.
Right.
The thing that I've worked to do is build a relationship with someone that goes, listen, it's not just you're going to get a great caliber performance, but because of what I can do, how we can partner, and my work ethic, and how you and I will work together throughout the course of this project, you're going to have to shoot less days, spend less time in the booth, and have fewer people that are going to have to fix what I do. So I'm going to save you money. But the second that my money goes past my value,
right,
I'm done, bro.
Right.
So what I look at is going, if you want to be good for the industry, then what they go is, we have, most people call it an audio budget, by the way. It's not even like, well, our actors and above the line, below the line. It's like, no, we have X amount of dollars for audio. That includes music, actors, studio, sound design, everything. So what they'll do is they go, this number isn't changing. And actually it just grew, which means we can hire less. So what they effectively did was said, instead of having 10 actors that would be paid this much, we still have this amount of dollars to spend. Mm-hmm. So now we get 6. So less people will work.
Right. That's right.
So it's not good for the industry.
No, and ultimately it's not good for gamers. I mean, I was playing Resident Evil Village this weekend. I don't know if you've played it yet.
I scared
come
David.
On. No, it's good. It's the ending, they shit the bed on the end. But the middle section is fucking amazing. And I played it high as a kite. Holy shit, that was
Never
delightful.
Do that.
No, delightful. No. Delightfully scary.
I've playing games high for me is like, so how far did you get? I'm like, the menu, bro.
Yeah, that's right. Well, there is that. But anyway, though, but there is a marked difference between coming off of the Sony first party stuff, Last of Us 2, God of War, Days Gone, Ghost of Tsushima, and going to this game. Like, it is noticeable, and not in a negative way in terms of the performances. I thought one of the performances was really rough and distracting, but the rest were totally, it didn't break the immersion. Right. But the writing and whatnot, so there's no doubt that if the union people and the quality people on the sort of the artistic side of it, not visual arts, but like the actors, the writers, and if they were to plant a flag and say, we're not doing it without XYZ, we're not going to press the button and be dicks, but you're going to have to concede a little bit, just like we're going to concede a little bit. The quality of those kinds of games would absolutely be noticed. But I think the companies, what I think a lot of gamers don't get is the companies would just go, okay, we'll just go make games where that doesn't matter. It doesn't really matter if Fall Guys has a great performance from one of the beans. It's still making a shit ton of money.
Or Animal Crossing.
Right, or Among Us.
Or Among Us.
Right, or yeah.
Like, and this is what they're all looking like. And with this announcement from Ubisoft
I
too.
saw this, yeah.
This is not the problem, but it's the thing that people don't check. The looking for the glacier in the water is, and COVID proved this. And this is something that I sat and I told, look, SAG leadership is great, and they are, Gabriel Carteris especially, they are doing their best. They understand the viability of this medium. No one is arguing this is art. They're doing their best for their membership. So I'm not in any way disparaging. But I told Gabrielle, I said, you're messing with professional problem solvers. This is what they do.
Talking about the video game part.
Yeah, I was like, you're dealing with people that all day look at ones and zeros and go bug, fix, bug report, new patch. Like, this is what they do.
Right.
I said, so you coming in here, they're looking at us. What I want, me personally, I can never think about, there's a shitty movie, but I love it. It's called The Core. And in it, there's this one scene.
Hilary Swank?
Yes.
Yeah, I saw it.
And Aaron Eckhart.
Yeah.
And there's this one line where he's like, you're trying to save the world. He's like, I'm not trying to save the world. I'm just trying to save one girl. And it's his daughter. Right. And he's like, I love that because, like, that's Joel. He's like, I'm not trying to save the world. I'm trying to save one girl. And if the girl isn't the world, then we're not worth saving. So when people said, do you think Joel should have saved the world? It's like, he did. The girl was his entire world. So I look at this and go, I can only look out for and have my own perception. I can try to do what is good for the common good. And I believe that is 100%. It's a part of my Stoic ethos of sympatheia. Understand that we're all here for each other. And there's 4 things that I have to match up to, which is courage, justice, temperance, and wisdom. And if I could do one of those 4 things and not trade that for something else like anger, bitterness, revenge, whatever, selfishness, then I'm doing good on today. But I look at this and I say, the whole point of them is don't pick a fight with someone who is going to look at us not as an asset, but rather as a liability. Because these people are constantly going, hey, these keyboards, by the way, are they're just a little clacky. And it's like, well, how much are they? It's like, well, they're $89. It's like, well, these over here are actually soft touch and they're faster response and they're wireless. They don't have this problem. They're $69. Like, give me those keyboards. Right. That's what they do. Right. It's all about so that we can continue to make games because we have to scale to the player's expectation.
Did you, in that conversation with her, just every now and then break from that important topic and just poke at her and go, you're Andrea Zuckerman? I wouldn't be able to not do that. Okay.
Listen, it reminds me of this show of 90210. I believe you're familiar.
Oh, fuck yeah. Goddamn right. And the new one was batshit crazy what they did with the new one. But
she's great.
Yeah. So listen, okay, I have some questions. I have so many questions, and I know the fans have questions about. So I know you're pressed for time. I'm gonna barrel through these real quick if I can get them because I've got to ask about some of this stuff. I want to ask about acting, okay? Because acting to me is like magic, and acting is one of those things. The way I realized this was I had seen this movie with Dennis Quaid in the I think it was called In the Company of Men. With him and Topher Grace. Great fucking movie, Scarlett Johansson. And I just loved that character. I was inspired by the character and all this. And then I met him in real life. Nice guy. So not that character. Not even close to that character. And I was very disappointed. And every time I've met actors who play roles that I love, I'm inevitably disappointed. And it eventually got me to the point where I said, I don't know how they do this. I don't understand. And so I have to ask you about some of your roles because especially a guy being, not only as stoic, but into stoicism. And I've seen you quote Marcus Aurelius and all these things, and I love stoicism. But although I guess the very nature of loving it means you should, it doesn't matter. The point is though, is that someone like Joel, who is in some ways, to do what you do requires, I imagine, a level of introspection and analysis and just diving deep, almost like therapy every time you take on a new role. But at the same time, someone like Joel, the very nature of Joel is, at least at the beginning in the first game, he's not an introspective guy. He is locked in. He is, at least as far as I read him as a character, he is. And I didn't like The Last of Us 1. I adored The Last of Us 2. And I adored it.
I love you.
But because, and I don't know how much of it was conscious on y'all's part or not, because, I mean, you never know if you're going to get to make a sequel. But I understand the whole arc of Joel, that in a lot of ways you're not supposed to like Joel as much in 1 as you do in 2. But 1 had a heart to it and a vulnerability to it that I connected with and that I wanted to be with for the whole journey. Whereas 1 was kind of a turnoff to me. I'm like, okay, I respected the fuck out of it. I was like, this is amazing. It's one of the best, quality type games ever made, but I don't want to be here with these characters. And I didn't finish it. I was just like, I was 7 hours in. I was like, I get it. I'm done. And then I resisted 2 for a long time, and people on the stream were like, Jaffe, just fucking play it. Finally played it. It's one of my favorite games. Damn. But there is a shift in Joel where I get how you play Joel now, knowing you a little bit better. But when you play Joel originally and you're playing a guy who's that shut down, you're not a shut down guy. You're a very reflective human. How do you when you're playing Joel, are you imagining, what's the conscious process of being a character in general, let alone one who's clearly so different from you?
That, my friend, is the gig.
I know, but I want to know how the magic trick is done. And let me just give you the whole big question and then speak, because I know we don't have time for it, because I look at the Joker, and you've played the Joker, right? I look at the Joker and I go, he's obviously on the outside, depending on which version, but he's obviously on the outside. We look at him as crazy. But I don't think anyone who's crazy probably, how deep do you go with this? He probably doesn't think he's crazy.
Joker thinks everybody else is crazy.
Right. Batman is, I think Batman is one of the dumbest characters in the world, but he's most loved. But I'm like, motherfucker, if I couldn't do what you do. I couldn't do what the guy who's currently writing Batman does, because I can't square the fact that this guy had a terrible trauma when he was a boy, and then he had all the resources of the world, not only money, not only the access to therapy and technology, he had access to Alfred, basically a second father figure who adored him, and he still couldn't get over this. And I'm like, why are, it's like, you seem like a baby. Go get some therapy, get on with your fucking life. But I mean, and that's obviously doesn't work because people love Batman. They relate to Batman. So when you take on these roles and they're so different and they're, are you on set going, Troy, I mean, I'm not saying are you method, but are you saying Troy is not here? Like you literally are what is the mental process of acting? Isn't that crazy? What a dumb question, because it's like you got a millennia, Jaffe? I know, but you know what I'm asking though, right?
Yeah. So I love answering in the form of a story.
Okay.
I'm on set, and some people have heard me tell this story before. I try to be the first person there. And I get there and there's somebody there before me. And this person is in the middle of the volume, which is the stage where we shoot. And they are just draped across this table and they're wailing, crying for real.
Okay.
And it's
Was this Last of Us 2 you said? Or it wasn't either one of them? Okay, keep going.
Totally different game.
All right, gotcha.
And the crew is all moving around him, and they're not even paying attention to him, which means this didn't just start happening. This has been happening for a while, long enough for them to ignore him. And I kind of clock him over the room, like, no one's going to do anything for this guy? And our number one walks in, because I was second banana on this thing, and our number one walks in, and he goes, "Good morning, everyone." And he stops, and he looks, and he clocks, and he goes, "Ugh."
What is clock? I don't know what clock is. What is clock?
Like he looks, he sees, he's clocking the room. He's kind of going around the room, and he sees this guy, and he goes, "Ugh, I know what he's doing." I was like, "What?" He goes, "Like, he's preparing." And I went, "Oh my God, you're right, he is." And he was preparing for his big scene. That was third shot up. Not first, not second. I don't even think we got to it until after lunch. And it was a scene in which he did not have to cry. The fuck was this guy doing? He was manufacturing this moment so he could build his character from all of this shit. Now look, far be it from me to deny anybody of their process, unless your process spills over into the entire set and brings everybody captive to it, whether they want to be or not. That's bullshit. There's another actor that I worked with who said there was an actor who director would call it a speeding, rolly, and action, and the guy would stand there and just scream at him, berate him, call him everything in the book, and then they would start the scene. I'm like, that fucker needs to work on his work. Like that's, and the reason why I said that, I had this huge light bulb moment where there's a quote by Richard Burton where they asked him once, and if you can just Google Richard Burton quotes and they're brilliant. And they said, "Sir Richard, how do you do the acting so well?" He goes, "It's quite easy. I will give you everything, but if you give me nothing in return, I will take it from you."
I've read that quote. I've never understood it.
This is what it unlocked for me. It's not a quote of arrogance. It is a quote of understanding that goes, listen, when we step into this is the Sarlacc pit. This is the fucking, there is a beast that needs to eat. And that beast is the scene. And we can either feed it or it will eat us. And my job is to feed the beast. And if you are not with me in that task, I will feed you to the beast.
Right, but how do you feed the beast?
So you realize that number one, the scene is not about you. I am a zookeeper, which means my job is to take care of the beast. And if I start thinking about how everybody wants to come to the zoo to see the zookeeper, I have fucking deluded myself. So the second I go, I'm going to amaze everybody with my incredible performance, like I did originally walking into the scene where Sarah dies in part one. And I wanted everybody to know that I could do it because I all know you're wondering if I can. Watch this shit. And I fall flat on my face to the point to where I not only get sent to the dugout by myself, but I got to come back and do it all over again. That was the best moment for me as an actor. It was the hardest moment for Neil as a director. And
this
I have such respect for him.
This is after you were cast, or this was your audition for it?
No, brother. This is when we were shooting the scene.
Okay.
And we had been working on this for a while. So this wasn't like, hey, we're third day in. We're months in. We're probably a year in to shooting. And he was like, I want to let you know we're going to do that scene. I was like, okay. So I go for it. And I fucking, how does one become method? All right, I know you're supposed to attach it to a real moment. So let's attach this to a real moment that I've never unpacked and just tramps around the minefield of my emotions and memories and then go in and try to perform. It was, Joel is nowhere in that first time we shot. There was no Joel. I left Joel outside. Okay. Troy was in there cathartically working through his bullshit and hoping that it would pass.
Right.
And so Neil understood that. He was like, oh, God, he's really going for it. And not in a bad way, but it's like, I feel bad because he's giving so much of himself and he's being so vulnerable. The problem is that you weren't looking at Joel losing his daughter. You're looking at Troy going through his trauma.
Okay. And
that's not what the scene is there for. So for me, it's this. I don't know what that moment is until we get there. So I'm not even going to try to pretend. You and I are in this moment right now. The world could end in 30 seconds. We have no idea. But you and I right now are going to have this conversation. If we walked around pretending like, and we just uncreates, we're just worried and stressful and anxious. And that's why most people are, because I'm not trying to like quote Eckhart Tolle, fucking be present. Right now is all you have.
Right.
So as an actor, the best thing I can do is understand I'm there to serve. How can I serve? What do you need? You as an actor, how can you and I dance?
Right.
But if I try to go in to impress you and prove that I can act, I will fail. Everything else is jazz.
Okay, so first off, points to the Eckhart Tolle. I thought it was Tolle, but regardless. And if you don't know who he is, look him up. It's a hard fucking read. Not The Power of Now, the next one, the something about the Earth. What was the second one? It's hard. It's brilliant. Look it up. It's a hard read, but it's absolutely worth it. But okay, you're a guy, I assume, then you meditate, yeah?
Man, I had to redefine what that word meant.
Do you sit and watch your breath and watch your thoughts? Are you aware of your thought process? Are you aware of the you above the you?
Yes.
Okay.
So
yeah. So here's what I'm trying to get at as someone who's curious about acting. When you are on the set and you are saying, I've done the preparation, Joel is coming through. This is no longer me working through my catharsis or my bullshit. This is Joel losing his daughter. The you above the you that's watching you act, are you going, how much of Troy is there going, okay, and now Joel would do this, and so say it this way, and how much of it is you just letting go and letting it happen at a subconscious level after you've done the prep?
For good or for bad, right now where I am at as an actor is, and this is frustrating for me as a director, because as a director, what you want to do is you're crafting a performance, right? And so that there was something that I just recently had to do where the director came to me, and I was an actor on this, and he came to me and was like, there's not going to be a lot of acting. This is going to be all choreography. And I need you to be able to do the steps of this dance, and it has to be precise. I was like, you got it. That is a challenge for me as an actor, because I'm the kind of person who's like, just real quick, there was a small change in the line. We just want to make sure that we get it right for localization. Subtitles, what did you say? I'm like, I don't have a fucking clue.
Right.
I don't know. Somebody play it back. I have no idea. Well, oh my God, what you just did was great. Don't tell me, because I have no idea what I just did, and I don't want to try to replicate it. So my thing is always this: be in the moment, literally, and I should be listening more than I am talking, even if I have a full monologue. It's not about how much dialogue is coming out of my face. If I'm sitting here and as I'm looking at you, I'm gauging everything that you're doing. And even as I'm talking, I'm wanting to make sure, is what I'm saying registering with you? So I'm listening even while I'm speaking. And that, if I do that, that's when the scene works. Because it's not about, go ahead.
Do you still know Joel? Is he still in you?
Yeah, man.
Okay, so here's the thing. This next question, and then I want to get to some fan questions. I want to talk to Joel. Can I talk to him?
Sure.
Okay, tell me when you're ready.
Huh?
You ready now?
Yeah.
This isn't the Joel question yet, but I was reminded of a story. Remember Tom Hanks in the movie Punchline?
Yes, what a great pull.
Yeah, so I read a great interview with him, and he was, the director's like, okay, this is the part in the movie where your father comes to see you perform, because his father thought he was a big disappointment because he dropped out of medical school. And the director says to Tom Hanks, it's like, do you want me to have the actor who's going to be your father just come sit in a dark room with you for like 20 minutes before we shoot and just stare at you so you can get into character? And Tom Hanks is like, what the fuck are you talking about? Let's go.
No.
So, okay, if Joel's ready, let's do it. Here we go.
Yeah.
Joel, how you doing, bud?
I guess I'm all right.
I want to ask you about what happened in that room. I mean, are you aware that you died?
When? What?
You were with Ellie. You guys were doing, you actually, she had gone out to look for you, and she found you, and do you know they killed you?
Oh, man.
She's been struggling with it really hard. The reason I ask is there's a lot of people that are upset about it, not just that you're gone, but there are people who've been watching your story. And I know that sounds crazy, but you live in a world with fucking, freakers and zombies and whatever they're called in your world. They're unhappy that you died. They thought you shouldn't have died. What do you have to say to these people? I mean, they're really upset about it.
Let me zoom out for a second, because I love this as an exercise, by the way. Fuck yeah, dude. So much exists. That'd be such a fun exercise, and it would definitely for the benefit of I mean, fuck it, who knows? I could maybe even learn something, because I've never, that's a question that's ever been posed to me before.
Yeah.
And it'd be fun to watch. One of the hardest things for me with Joel has been being okay with some people just not getting it.
Why did he have to go away just then? Why does Troy have to be here?
Oh, for this perfect reason. Answering the question sometimes can ruin the mystery. It can
Got it. Okay, fair. I just wanted to know. Okay, keep going.
Yeah.
Okay.
There's a beautiful thing to me that happens where one of my favorite things, whether it's a game, it's a show, movie, whatever, when they go, ooh, what was that look? What was that? I'm watching West Wing right now, and I'm still thinking.
The best
Brother.
show ever. The best fucking show ever made. Okay, sorry, go ahead.
I'm season 3.
You've
And
never
there's this
seen
one-
the show?
Never watched it. Isn't that funny?
Oh, keep going. Go. Sorry.
There's this one scene where Charlie just did this one look, and everything else that happened subsequently in that episode, I am I didn't pay attention. I'm fixated on this one look.
What was the look? What was the look? What was the episode? I know
The
this
episode.
back of my head.
This is where it ends up being like here. There was you wrote a letter to the president of
right.
FDR, but there's something else. He like that Julie Hill is fucking, that guy's actress. Just like whatever he did in Chuck or whatever it was, that actor is, I want to meet him.
Yeah.
I am embarrassed to think that I had relegated Bradley Whitford to being the guy in, Billy Madison.
Right.
I was so surprised.
Rob Lowe in that show. It's
Rob Lowe.
Right. I mean, come on.
And of course, Martin Sheen. It's just the cast is incredible. The story is incredible.
Richard Schiff?
I can't right now. Toby is like, there's so many performances that I would go back and change about myself if someone had just said, I need you to be a little bit more Toby, and they'd be like, yes, because I have a tendency to play Josh. Like I want to be Josh all the time.
Everybody wants to be Josh, but Toby's the best.
But Toby is power. Everything that he says, he uses the concision of his words and the power of truth as his assertion, as opposed to yelling, beating things. And when he does, anyway, there is this thing that happens when you go, I don't tell me. No, I don't want to know. And the one thing that I've enjoyed as an exercise is one of the biggest arguments, there's no way that Joel would have been that stupid to drop his guard and trust those people. And I'm like, exactly. That's what makes him a real person, is that, and there's even a moment in the scene after, when I'm on the ground and I look up at Abby and I just go, and to me it was like, there's a moment that we specifically crafted, that we specifically had, that was like recognizing that fact. This is what you get.
I was going to say, right. Do you think, Joel, if he had not encountered Ellie and he had not softened because of that relationship, he probably would still be alive?
Absolutely not. He would be, that guy is surviving. He is where we find Brad Pitt's character in the Act 1 of Interview with the Vampire.
Right, no, I'm saying
you like the courage of your convicted.
He would still be alive, or he would not if he hadn't.
No.
You don't think so? He wouldn't have continued to protect himself so much that those guys wouldn't have gotten the drop on him.
He's not protecting himself. This is the clear indication. Joel says we are survivors. That doesn't mean that he's a survivalist. He's just the one that always makes it out.
So it's luck as much as anything else.
Yeah, and just like if you can't drown yourself. Right. You have to in some way prevent yourself from drowning. Otherwise, your body will naturally take over. And so when he goes, "We are survivors," is not going, "We are survivors." It is like, we're just the fucking people that make it out. Everybody else on the plane can die. We lived. We're the people that I was driving. It's a carload of seniors coming back from prom.
Yeah.
I was the drunk driver. I lived. They died. Right. I'm the one who survives. That's what I do, but it's not who I want. I died that night that my daughter did, and I would gladly trade places with her in a heartbeat. And by the way, that's not a romantic, poetic notion.
No, I have kids. I understand.
Yeah, it is when someone, his name's Traveler. He's 3 years old. He has blonde hair, and I would step in front of a bus to save him. It's like there is an instinctual thing that we live on a street for now where someone just let Waze know, oh, you could bypass this if you cut down the street like an idiot, like going fucking too fast. And so when they drive around the street, my body, it's not a conscious decision. I should probably be more diligent. Mm-hmm. My body just naturally jerks and puts me between he and danger. That is how we are here as a species. It speaks nothing to my character. It is everything to do with there's a genetic coded thing. Everything is programming deep within me that prevents him from fall. I put myself in harm's way.
Okay, so your son, I'm sorry, what? His name is what?
Traveler.
That's the name. And you also have a, I've seen that's, no, what's your name of your company? What's your,
Chocolate milk.
okay, okay. So he's 3.
Yeah.
You were shooting Last of Us 2 when he was already born?
Last of Us 2.
So did
True.
Last of Us 2, because it seems so, at least externally, poetic. I mean, obviously, it mirrors a lot, right? I mean, did he affect the performance of Joel? Is that maybe why
100%.
Joel's softer? Or is that like, no, man, that was just the story? Or it's both?
100%. And especially, like, I can share this with you. That was going through a time where, depending upon where it fell, where it's, matter of fact, when we were shooting, trying to think of what scene we would have been shooting, but we had a code word where if Pam was going into labor, then we just had to say Paddington.
And that's different than your safe word, because you don't want to get those
different than my safe. Yeah. Okay. Wait a minute, what are we doing?
Yeah, right.
So if
I'm having a baby, untie me, Troy. Let's get this done.
If I texted Paddington or she texted Paddington, I dropped everything that I was doing. And when I went to a job, they were super cool. It's like everybody knew. And so like when I was on set, I would hand my phone over to a PA, and I was like, you trusting people is like, if you see Paddington come across, you let me know. And so that's where we were at. We were shooting that. But there's this whole thing of now I'm a father, still hypothetically, but what does it look like for me to be able to now experience this in the same way that Joel does, where Joel's not really a father, but he has the opportunity to be. And here's the moment where I can choose to be a good father. The thing is that, I don't know if people really understand this, is that Neil was writing part 1 when he had just had his daughter.
Oh,
so
okay.
He's going through this whole thing of like, what happens if premeditatio malorum? Let's think about the worst possible situation. What do I look like in that situation? What do I look like if, as her protector, I fail? Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. That to me, so it's like people talk about like, oh, you being in that scene so much. I'm like, rewind the clock. As the writer, Neil put himself in that situation, and he wept over those pages far before they were ever handed to me. So there's a lot of credit that needs to be given to him for the crafting of that scene and the blueprints for that scene. It's easy for an architect or for a builder to build the house that the architect has already designed. It's hard work at that point, and it takes some skill, but the architect has to create the blueprint.
You seemed happy, or you said thank you, I think, when I said I loved The Last of Us 2, but not the first one. What was that about? Why would you say that?
Wait a minute, you cut out. What I was happy with what?
Yeah, so when I said I didn't really vibe with The Last of Us 1, but I adored The Last of Us 2, and it seemed to make you happy. And I'm curious, what's that reaction about?
It's always good when you hear someone, look, man, I respect you, and this industry respects you. And like you
I don't know about that, but thank you, though. I appreciate it, but thank you.
You're
a good actor, Troy. You got moxie, kid.
As you said, you laid your bricks, right? So it is undeniable whether you want to agree with it or not, and you want to relitigate things.
Sure.
If anybody wanted to relitigate stuff that I did a year ago, 2 years ago, you could find whole reasons to indict me. There's something, if you never watched the Beastie Boys documentary,
I've heard about it though.
Dude, it's so fucking good. Yeah. And Ad Rock goes, they're on a carpet, and someone goes, how can you sit here and say you're doing something for women when you're the ones that wrote these terrible songs? And he goes, because I'd rather be a hypocrite than to be a bigot.
Right.
And I would much rather be able to look back at the former version of myself and go, listen, man, we shed our skin every 30 days. Like we are externally, we are a different being every month. Mm-hmm. And if my essence, spirit, soul, mind, being, whatever you want to call it, isn't in step with that, then I'm fucking falling behind. I want to make sure that I look back and go, oh my God, there's stuff that I look back and go, phew. I can't believe I did that, said that.
So your performances, Joel, you think is better in 2 than 1? Like you're a better performer?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Absolutely. I look at the caliber of work that I did in 2. and go, I'm really, as an actor, I'm really proud of that. As a character, it's my job. People go, how does that make sense? I'm like, because that's my job. My job is to, and trust me, Neil and I, before every shoot, we would get on the phone, and it's like, you good now? I was like, yeah, give me an hour. And we knew that those calls were going to go long into the night. There was going to be bourbon that was poured, and there was going to be words that would be said, and we would go to war, and then we'll be good, and we would get on get on the set and know what we were doing, because I didn't want to be in the fucking table read the next morning going, well, what if we did this? And now it's disruptive, and now everybody else goes, oh, can we change shit?
Right. That's right. Fair enough. The haters of the game, I'm struggling with understanding. I'm a very progressive guy. I'm a proud SJW card-carrying fella. I don't know what the right narrative is to wrap my head around when it comes to the people that shit on The Last of Us Part 2, because some of them will say, oh, it's that they killed Joel and they lied to us and said he was going to be the star, which I don't think that's the case. I think they always made it clear you'd be playing Ellie in the second game. Or it's a super, they're trying to shove an agenda down our throats or whatever. I mean, because you're a gamer. I mean, you're a hardcore fucking gamer. I mean, what is your, not your response, because I imagine your response is you're annoyed, but what do you think is their problem with this game?
Again, it all comes down to, I am afraid to let go of something that means so much to me. And that if I let go of this, or if this thing exists outside of my control, then I don't have control over that. If I don't have control over that, I don't have control over this.
But what are they letting go of? I mean, it's the same. I mean,
it's anytime we go, do you love this thing? Do you, dude? Did you have a pet when you were growing up that died?
Of course. Nope, they're still living. It's crazy. Yes, they all died.
You know what I mean? That's a fucking struggle. It's like,
sure.
Well, no, I don't want to deal with this thing changing. Dude, it all comes down to the fact that we're scared of dying, you know? Like, as people want to say, it's like, the second, that's why the fucking Stoics are always like, dude, memento mori, remember, you're going to die. If you can get over that, you can get over anything. But it's, to me, it's, I don't want it to this thing needs to be what I want it to be, what I can control, what I can handle. My concept of God needs to fit within this box. You need to fit within my box. You're either male or female, and that's because that's what. And I want to call you what I want to call you. And it's all this shit is the same conversation, man.
Yeah,
people.
It's fear, right? It's fear.
It's all fear.
Yeah.
And so when I look at that, my dog. I love my dog. 8-Bit. Where is he? I'm somewhere.
Oh, your dog's name is 8-Bit?
Yeah, dude.
My fucking dog is great, but his name is Ace. My kids named the dog. Be grateful. I wanted to name my dog Bartlett after Bartlett from West Wing.
No shit.
And they didn't let me, so I named my last company after Jed Bartlett and Indiana Jones. It was the Bartlett Jones Supernatural Detective Agency because of Jed Bartlett. So, yeah. So... And
you got really mad as Josiah Bartlett.
That's exactly right.
So I look at this and I go, I've seen him be injured before.
Yeah.
And I have to care for him. And when I reach for him, he fucking snaps at me. He was like, dude, I'm your owner. I'm trying to help you.
Right.
And I think that that's the reaction that we get. I think that there's a lot of people that are hurt and defensively so. Look, man, we went for the gut on this. But it was what the story mandated and what the character didn't deserve, because I love how Neil put this. He was like, it's not about what he deserved. If it was, he would have gotten a lot worse. That this world doesn't operate under that currency.
Yeah. We
don't get what we deserve. It just fucking happens, and it's dumb and it's stupid and it sucks. And how do we deal with the emptiness of that? So the people that again, it's the same thing as it come from my friends, and that's what bothers me. But when people have opinions, I'm like, I will listen to it, of course. I'm not going to necessarily, I will rate it based upon, look, if Stephen King goes, I have problems with the writing, I'm going to be like,
right.
Please.
Yeah.
Tell me about this. If Robert McKee wants to talk about the structure of it, I'm going to listen to that.
Right.
But someone that goes, I just think that they probably, should have done this. I'm like, there's no question under the sun that you could have possibly conceived that was not considered years ago.
Right.
So just like me, when Brian Fleming is sitting across from me at a restaurant in Seattle going, think for a second that the pages that we're handing you, the game that we're handing you, has blood on it, that battles have been fought, wars have been waged to solve the exact problem that you have. Now, if you want to, let's walk through that together. Let's find out what happens. So let's say for a second that Joel doesn't trust those people and he doesn't go there with them. Then what happens? Then what kind of game do we have? Well, I mean, Joel's alive, right? And then Ellie stays in Jackson? Yeah. Then what happens? More clickers come and then we defend Jackson. I was like, so it's a tower defense game. Is that the kind of game that you would want to play? No. Okay. Then what's the event? What sets Ellie on her path?
Well, I mean, I'm sure they could go, well, you could write something, but I get your point. Your point is the people who made what you loved the first time, they're doing the same process, which is following their muses to make the next thing. And you get, I mean, I'm a huge Steven Spielberg fan, but I don't love every movie the guy makes. But
Neither does he.
Right, but he's got to go. He's on his journey, and he's going to leave.
Him say he goes, I should not have directed The Color Purple. I'm like,
right.
Holy shit!
When he
said I did Empire of the Sun, I was trying to prove to people that I wasn't just the Goonies guy, and I wasn't Jaws, and I wasn't anything else. I'm like, that was in 87.
Yeah,
I think. Yeah. I'm like, Jesus Christ, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
That's someone who's constantly trying to reinvent himself, constantly looking back and going, I was winging it then. Jaws? Are you kidding me? He was like, we had one shark left before the movie was shut down.
Yeah.
Fuck.
You said something at the very beginning where you were talking about if you were to play a homosexual guy, you wouldn't do that. You'd give that to a homosexual actor for a love scene and for the whole character. I only bring it up because you did play a black guy once, I think, and that was a long time ago. But I was looking it up. I'll show you. There's this, and I'm only asking because there was that whole thing with Abu from Simpsons, and like, would you now kind of turn those roles down, like for an African American or just an African descendant character?
The beauty is, I think that finally it's no longer in the hands of the actors to make that choice. I think that people are finally going. And here's the deal: I don't believe that diversity in casting means moving the shader on the color model back and forth.
Of course.
I'm talking about. It doesn't start with casting. It starts with writing. It starts with truly going, what is a different representation of this character? And I think that we automatically, what we do is we punt to sci-fi and we say, well, let's make him a Calorian. Let's make him a lick lock from the planet Troubadour, And it's like, well, now we can just kind of, zoom outside of our normal social constructs and not say that he's a white Anglo cisgender male.
Right.
We can now say now we can discuss it safely, as opposed to going, fuck, man, we got to write some more interesting characters. Well, let's make this character non-binary. Are you writing that character non-binary? Or is the character this, and by the way, also presents as non-binary?
Yeah, and a lot of haters can't tell the difference, unfortunately, because anything sets off their stupid, alarm bells. But
it's they don't understand. I think that most people, again, are not trying to be malicious. I think that they don't understand what diversity is, and it's like, how about we create a character, and then that character happens to have this, but. Most of the gay people that my friends that are gay are like, if all that I'm known for is that all that I am to you
is a gay guy.
Is this?
Yeah.
Oh, I'm your gay friend. That's what it is. I'm like, well, no. It's like, yeah, I'm also an accomplished writer, and that I've been on Broadway, and that I've loved and I've lost. I'm a son. I'm a father. I'm a brother. It's like there's all these other things. It's like, and there's this. And I don't believe that most people right now that are finally getting a lot more representation are going, I don't want it to be about that. Yeah, it's like, well, now we're going to hire you because you're black. It's like, no, how about you hire me because I'm the best person for this job? I have a tremendous amount of respect for, oh God, who was it that was going to be Bond? Amazing.
Idris Elba.
Idris Elba.
And he still should be Bond. He'd be amazing Bond.
Fucking incredible. Of course. Yeah. Absolutely. He was like, I'm not going to be the token guy for you. And I'm like, thank you. That's amazing. That's incredible. I don't want you to be the token black Bond either.
But play a spy though. Don't be Bond. Go play. You'd be an awesome spy.
Go play the spy.
Yeah. Robbie Robertson, Spider-Man's boss at the Bugle, is who you played. Black guy.
I did?
Yeah.
In what?
I don't know, Spider-Man. I'll tell you what it was called. It was the Avengers Earth's Mightiest Heroes 2010. You played
here's
Robbie
what's funny.
Robertson. Yeah.
Check this out. Is Robbie Robertson canonically gay? Or gay? Black?
He's a black dude, yeah.
Canonically?
Yeah, from the very first he was introduced in the 60s.
Man, okay. So Spider-Man exists in my universe because of Daredevil. Just so you know.
Spider-Man.
I go Batman.
That's why you want to play a blind character. I get it now.
Yeah.
Okay,
Dude, for
okay,
sure,
okay,
for sure.
okay.
So I go Daredevil is my entry point into comics, and then I even though that's DC, I skewed Marvel, and then I went Daredevil became my main thing that I did, and then everything kind of splintered off from there. So I went Spider-Man via Daredevil.
Okay.
And then I went, I guess Avengers via Spider-Man, actually through Iron Man, because Iron Man at that time was cheaper, and I came in right as Iron Man was, Tony was revealing that he had cancer, and so I was like, what the fuck is this? This is incredible. So my entry points, there was no MCU, there was no oh, these are the ones that you read. It's I picked it up because it was 50 cents versus 75 cents. That meant I could get two,
right,
as opposed to just one, and still have money for a Coke.
Right.
So that's how I grew up. But the way that it works typically in animation, especially, is there's a character that I played in that show specifically that was my recurring character. That they were okay, so here's this guy who's going to do Troy. Your aim shield agent number one. Or your aim guy number one. You're also playing MODOK's minion number 3, and you're playing this guy. And let's go around there. Oh shit, we have Robbie Robertson for 4 lines. Who's going to do that? Troy, you're in here. Can you pick up Robbie Robertson? Yeah, absolutely. Okay.
Right.
There's so many people that I don't even the character that I played. I look back. I played him kind of like a Glenn Morshower is a person that I've patterned. And I love Glenn, and Glenn and I have worked together before, but that's kind of my go-to general guy.
Okay.
That's who I thought this guy was. He was 30 in our show. He was this young dude. It was why does he sound like he have dentures? It was because we didn't get the character model back.
Right.
Before we do this. So that sometimes the animation goes, this is who we're drawing this guy. That's what he looks like now. So if I played Robbie Robertson, but the whole point is not the character necessarily, it's about the choice. I would look at it now, and there's people that have come to me and said, hey, we want to cast you for this. That a lot of time, my job is to be a solution to your problem.
Yeah.
If the solution for that is me being hired and being a part of your team, there is nothing that will convince me of otherwise. But if I look at it and go, actually who you want to get is so-and-so. And I really feel like they're going to be able to, because now you and I will have a relationship, and we'll be able to go, Troy's a problem solver. He's not an actor that I hired for this thing.
Right.
And that's how I've had longevity in careers, by going, it's not me on this one, bud. I really think you need to go get Roger Craig Smith. And I would actually say, go get Bumper Robertson. Bumper would crush this right now.
Okay.
So that to me is the true path, as opposed to going, how can I get a job? How can I get a job? How can I get a job? People smell that desperation on you.
Got it. Okay. Now let me just tell you one thing. Now I feel, Troy, like we've had a good date. And it's if you have a good date, you're like, I don't want the date to end. Troy, I don't want our date to end. I don't want our date to end.
I know.
So here's the thing, though. I know you're short on time. Are we done, or can I keep you a little bit more? Can I get these fan questions? Can I ask you one more of my questions? Or dude, motherfucker, I got to go.
No, I give you 10 more minutes is what I can do. I'm looking at my clock.
Let me go right to the super chats. These are folks who have spent ducats, and they say, I need answers from Good Sir Troy, and I am going to deliver with Troy's permission. So here we go. The calls, if I can get lucky enough to get Troy back on one day, excellent. Sure. Then I will. So thank you guys for waiting for the calls. But like I said, I couldn't guarantee I was going to get to them. Tomorrow, Colin Moriarty is going to be here. He is absolutely going to be taking your calls.
Colin is the only person that I know that has been able to acquire all of the toppers for Blanton's bourbon, and he actually has the Blanton's spelled out. So you have to ask him about that.
I will absolutely. All right, here we go. Max B, thank you, buddy, from New Zealand. He says Troy in an interview said Kanji was gay. There's no question mark. There's no period. I don't know if he's asking you or not, but. Is kanji a character? Kanji's also a word for a language for...
Yeah, kanji is one of my all-time... It's one of the most referenced characters I've ever done, and it's one that's the most dear to me. I'm trying to remember if I ever... Because I'm typically very cognizant of making that assumption for people, because once I do that then removes the question for people. What I've always held true is that... that character specifically, the thing that I respect about Atlas was they were going, hey, listen, we're really trying to have a conversation about sexual identity. And every one of us has our shadow version of ourselves. This is from the game Persona 4. And we all have our shadow version of ourselves, just as Kanji did, and that we're battling with. And the point of it is to come to peace with that shadow version of ourself and understand that it's no longer something you have to fight, but it's something that you can embrace and love. So whether the reason why I'm typically not like, oh, this is about him being gay, is because to say, well, that it's not a conversation that's relevant to me, because I identify as straight, so I don't have to worry about, the sexual conversation about this. It's like, no, what is the shadow version of yourself? What is do you feel like you're supposed to look a certain way, and so that's the shadow version of yourself, is the skinny version, the fat version, or whatever?
Right.
So that's why I go, it's about loving the shadow version of yourself.
Got it. Okay. And I hate to cut you off, but I know you're pressed for time, and I want to get through these for you. Eddie drops a super chat. He says, Troy, I guarantee 90% of the people who are toxic about Last of Us 2 and Death Stranding have never even played it. Both are amazing. People take what they see online with zero context and act super toxic. There you go. So some of these are just statements, but...
I agree with that 100%.
Eddie, you and Troy, baby. He's my date right now, but it sounds like you guys got some chemistry. V, thank you, buddy. Oh, it's V. Hey, bud. He says, Troy is one of the dopest jokers. No cap. I don't know what no cap means, but he likes your Joker, sir. And that's coming out in a couple of weeks. If you haven't read the fucking
June
Long
22nd.
Halloween, boy, that's a great fucking graphic novel. So I'm very excited about. It's called Long Halloween, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. It's the holiday
Part
killer.
1.
Part 1.
So it's a two-parter, and part 1 comes out June 22nd. I'm not sure when part 2 comes out.
Yeah, it's a great story. So, okay. Eddie drops another super chat. Troy, I love in Last of Us 2, no one is safe. There are consequences, and your past can come back to bite you. These people you kill have families to protect. Was Joel morally the same as them? I imagine. Well, you tell me. I don't know.
You dropped off the last part. Was that
he's basically asking all of the people who live and die in Last of Us 2, basically they all have families. Was Joel morally the same as all these other characters? The camera just happened to be on Joel, right? I mean, it was his story, but everybody is a Joel in that, or a star in that story. They're all suffering.
Look, I think that there's an opportunity, whether it be in Naughty Dog's tutelage or custodianship, or whether it be HBO's. This thing happened outside of Pittsburgh. It happened outside of Austin. It happened outside of Jackson. It happened outside of Seattle. And to be able to say, and that's what I loved about part 2, is that it showed how this did, go across the entire country. But the United States is not, it's one country, right? It's what happened in Canada, what happened in Mexico, what happened in the UK, what happened in Europe, what happened in Russia, China, Asia. There's this whole world that we could explore. What if there was one, bastion of quote normalcy that still exists in the world? So I think to be able to distill that down to, is Joel the moral equivalent of everybody? We just happen to have the camera on him, is a very, very astute observation, and I would agree with that.
Okay. Jarok, thank you, buddy. He says, it's my birthday. Can I get a shout out?
I haven't done that in a long time. Happy birthday, dude.
Yes, happy birthday, good sir, J-Rock. Vitter now, thank you, bud. He says, this interview is spellbinding. We're binding spells, pal. Love.
Wingardium Leviosa.
I love PWL. I don't know what that is. And
Play,
Troy's.
watch, listen.
Oh, okay.
I get to do this.
Oh,
weekly
that's the
podcast with
Alana thing.
Pierce,
Okay, yeah,
Mike
yeah.
Biffle, and Austin Winter.
Alana is coming on the show, I think, next week. I'll have to text you something that she wouldn't know I know just to fuck with her. Okay, so she... so he says, I love that show. I love Troy's craft. Much love for both of you. Thank you, sir. White Wolf says, hello, Troy. Please tell the story about how you almost left before meeting for the first Last of Us.
Oh, dude. Very interesting story. I was going in for the audition, and I walked in, and immediately, because I looked around the room and saw basically a physical representation of like the character sat in every chair, I was like, I don't belong here. And so I was literally about to leave when the casting director called my name.
A physical representation meaning what? I don't understand.
Like, for when you get this casting breakdown, there's like there's a concept art of your character.
Oh, okay, it was art.
And so I looked in and I looked in the room, and there's like all these like broguish looking dudes that were the full, like some wearing the actual flannel shirt and everything. I was like, I am not that guy. I don't look like this. I'm not that old. And I forgot the fact that it's called acting, my dear boy.
Right.
And I just needed to, and I completely disregarded every bit of work that I had done the night before to be prepared for this scene. And I almost walked out, and she's the one that actually kept me in there. So I owe her a lot. Gotcha.
Okay, fair enough. Max B, we all know Kanji was Troy's best performance and really reflective of his true self. There you go. Would you agree that's the most reflective character that you've ever played? That's the one that reflects you the most?
For that person.
Okay, fair enough. Shaky Shako, and dude, every one of these I could spend 20 minutes on, but I'm not blowing these off. Just letting you know, I would love to know what that means. Okay, Papa Chaffee, can you please make Troy say? I can't make him do shit, baby, but I'll read it to him. Basim, you are a great person, and I know you can be the best programmer. It's for a friend. It would make him very happy. He is a big fan of The Last of Us.
Oh, dude.
Troy just texted me, I'm not a monkey bitch, so no. The answer is no. Yeah, sorry.
What was the line?
Basim, you are a great person, and I know you can be the best programmer.
Basim, you are an amazing programmer, and I know that you could fucking kick ass. See, this is why I always want to change the line.
It's fair enough.
You see how I changed the line?
He just gave us $100. I'll split it with you. He says, "Can you also add, I want to pleasure you anally?" Can you say that?
So
I'm kidding. He didn't. Don't say that.
Give me a line read on that one.
That's right. Okay. Lord have mercy says, thank you, Joel and Booker. Do you think advocating for voice actors to unionize would promote people of color to ascend in the industry?
I think that what will promote people to cast or for people of color to ascend in the industry has nothing to do with an external entity. I think that what has to happen, it has to happen on a granular level. It needs to happen on a much smaller level. It has to happen in conversations. So it needs to be, because if we try to make this whole, goddamn, we can get into this.
Yeah.
But it has to happen in a conversation. And this is something that all I can do right now is control the relation, or not control, but all I can do is impact the relationships and the people that are put in front of me. So in every one of those conversations, what I'm trying to do is show that diversity has nothing to do with race, gender, sexuality, or anything. Diversity is us being able to write characters that truly relate to people. And in order to truly relate to people, we must understand people. And if I'm trying to go, oh, you're black, oh, you're gay, then I'm not trying to relate. I'm just trying to present something to you that is a version of you that I think that it is, as opposed to going, you tell me who you are, and let's see if we can find a character that relates to you. That's all I want to do is relate to people.
Solid Snake says, thank you, Solid Snake. Master Baker. That's one you haven't done yet.
No.
Master Baker, a pleasure to meet you. Love your work. You are my inspiration.
Dude.
Check that shit
That's the best compliment that I can be, is if I inspire you to do something, if he goes, hey, if that schmuck can do it, I can do it. Then I have done my job for the day.
AGV, go Jaffe go. Thank you very much. I will try. And then the last couple ones. Ricardo, hey buddy, Ricardo from Portugal says, "How will motion capture change in gaming this gen?"
Look, man, the thing that I love most about this, especially PlayStation, is, and this is not disparaging anything against Microsoft, because Microsoft is kicking ass too. They do things on PlayStation does hardware, right? Microsoft does software. So everything that they're doing that Microsoft based is platform based. What Sony is really, really good at is being able to present a generation of consoles that is open, almost open source, so that whether it be David Jaffe or whether it be Mike Bithell or whether it be Neil Druckmann or whomever, we're all using the same tools. And so the ability for an indie gamer's graphics and for their the level of processing power to be almost across the board, unilateral is amazing. That means that the indie gamer that was like, well, I can only make a game like Inside. I can't make a game or Flower or Abzu. I can't make a game that's going to look as good as Returnal. Like, you can now because you have the ability. Everyone talks about ray tracing, but it's like the LOF that is available to an indie gamer or indie designer rather is the same that's available to AAA designer.
Wait, what is LOF? I don't know what LOF is.
Level of fidelity.
Oh, level detail. So, okay, got it.
Level of detail, LOD.
Okay.
So to be able to say, and again, how much time and money and personnel can you throw at it is obviously always going to, not everyone's going to be able to have, a 3 or 5 year or 7 year dev cycle. Some people are going to be able to have, like, I can commit 6 months of my life to this. But look, Mike Bithell is cranking out games in 6 months and being able to make this. So make the game that you can make. But I think as far as motion capture, I think that we don't want to dance too much to the uncanny valley. But I think that performance capture, as long as the characters that we're writing are, again, relevant and relatable to the people that will be playing them, as long as the stories have the same level of detail, the same level of fidelity that the graphics do, as long as the story that we're presenting is as emergent and as immersive as the mechanics, as long as everything is in step, I think that we're finally going to see a console generation to where it's not like mechanics are in front, stories out in front, that we're actually going to be moving in step with each other.
If somebody came to you and said, you can do a brilliantly written motion capture game or voice game, but it's with a character like a Minecraft character, or you can do a written story character with like PlayStation 6 level fidelity, which would you rather do?
I would. This is going to be the punt answer.
Okay.
You're going to piss at me.
It's like Auburn.
What I would say is that, look, inside the graphics, the attentions and the details, it's not necessarily like, holy shit, look at that, the level of detail that they have in that. It's like, but it's just fucking beautiful. But I would look at it and I would say, should we repurpose this as a, if your mechanics suck but your story's great, why do you want to make this a game? Are you trying to shoehorn in something? Like the same conversation I had with David Cage.
Yeah, that's
David
okay.
Cage wants to make a movie.
Save this shit, baby, because I gotta talk to you again about that, because this is some deep shit about why a game versus a movie. That is because, okay, we're gonna talk about that.
Two separate things.
Right. Okay. Last couple ones. No more super chats. You guys are so generous and so kind, and thank you. But we gotta let the man go. But I'll get these last ones. Eddie Jordan says, Troy, Ken Levine or Neil Druckmann as the best story writer? You're not going to give an answer, and you shouldn't. But
absolutely way.
The answer is go fuck yourself. That's your answer.
Yeah, I would say this. I am fortunate enough to be able to call both of those people friends, and we have been to war together. Both of them. Ken Levine remains a dear friend, as does Neil to this day, and both are. I've learned more about writing from the two of them than in structure and character and the process of making games. So I'm eternally grateful. They're two different writers from two different styles.
616, hello 6. He says, thanks for the memories, Troy. Second to none. Brian E says, thank you, buddy. Question for Troy: what game were you not in but you wish you had a role in?
Dude, I, for some reason, these two things, and I think he's going to get a big kick. Sam's going to get a big kick out of this. I love everything that Sam Lake does, and I'm such a
Oh,
fan.
for the Remedy guys.
Well, yeah, and there's Remedy is a studio, but I mean, like, I still go back and I will play.
Max
Why
Payne.
am I drawing a blank? Max Payne. Last one, but like that's something that I wish that I could have been in. But by and large, if it's something that I've loved, I could have been the fly in the ointment, and I'm glad that I wasn't.
Got
So,
it. Okay.
my job is to appreciate. If I'm playing a game, I don't want to be in it. I want to, even if I was in it, I want to see that character. I don't want to see me.
Yeah, I got questions later for that too. I got to know what that's like for you to play a game you're in. Okay, last two. Rory, thank you, buddy. Hey, Troy, I loved your performance in both games of Last of Us, and you and Ashley were incredible and my favorite story in all of gaming.
Dude.
There you go. Last one from Daniel. This isn't even a super chat. He's getting it for free because it's so interesting. He says, Jaffe, give up your bullshit woke crap. Nobody cares, and it sounds like Troy doesn't care. Troy, do you care about my woke bullshit crap?
Your woke bullshit.
I don't know. Yeah, right? Troy doesn't love me. Fuck you, Daniel, you fuckstick. Okay, I'm going to say goodbye to Troy, and then I need to talk to Joel one last time, and then that'll be how we end it. Okay?
Right.
Troy, seriously, man, I had never met you before today. I would love for you whenever you're free and if you're interested. I have so many more questions. And you're like, so what, Jeffy? I have a life. I know. But if you ever want to come back and talk games and talk design and talk the biz, man, fucking what a joy that would be for me. So invitation's open. And even if you don't, I'll bug you in a month or 2 months or 3 months. Okay.
I am down.
All right. Thank you. Thank you for your time. Thank you for the conversation. I appreciate it. May I speak with Joel one last time?
You got it.
Joel, you there?
Oh, hell yeah.
I just want to let you know, man, and this is going to sound corny and I don't care, and you may not even understand it, but there's something about the way you live your life that inspires me, and it connects with me, and this is going to sound so dumb, but I'm going to tell it to you, and don't freak out, and not in a weird way, not that it would be weird, but I do think I genuinely have affection for you. I love you, Joel, and I miss you.
Well, I ain't never been much for words, but let me just say thank you kindly.
All right. Thank you, Joel. See you guys. Bye, everyone. Bye, Troy. There goes Troy Baker, the great Troy Baker, off into the night. I had to end it like that, fellas. I had to end it like that. I'm going to bring up, we'll talk a little bit. Can you believe we got such a good amount of time with Gertzer Joel? Joel, I am so sorry that we did not get to... Somebody in the chat says, where did Troy go? I'm so sorry we didn't get a chance to get to the calls, but the dude, you guys in the chat are dicks. I don't care. Look, I don't care what you think, okay? Let me tell you something. I was the kind of guy, Fox says that was weird. I don't care. Listen, bitch. I was the guy when I went to Marvel Mania, which, if you don't remember, was the... it was a theme restaurant that had all the characters dressed up as Marvel superheroes. And even though I know the guy who played Spider-Man, and this was before MCU and everything, even though I know the guy who played Spider-Man was probably some college kid working part-time, making minimum wage, the 10-year-old in me was still like, oh my God, you're Spider-Man. And so I understand that maybe to watch that, Captain Hogwash says, Troy is going to block Jaffe on Twitter. I don't care. All I'm saying is that, you know, there's a part of my brain that, no, look, I'm not a fucking moron. I know it's Troy. But I also know that there's a real Joel out there, and that's Joel, and he can let me talk to Joel, and I've spent a lot of time with that character, and I really do have affection for that character, and I'm sorry that character's gone. And I loved seeing that character grow from a character who I didn't like enough to finish his first adventure. And then I absolutely love the character in The Last of Us Part 2. So if I get a chance to actually talk to the real fucking McCoy, I'm going to do it and go fuck yourself. There you go. All right, listen, fellas. You thought Max Payne 3 was bad, Stefan or Steve? Fuck you. It was great. All right. Anyway, fellas, and Rob the Mod, thank you so much for modding this motley crew. I appreciate you guys spending some time today. Rory, thank you so much. Rory dropped a super chat, says, I know you don't see my face. The camera was going to Zoom, and now I can't. Javi turned into a soda can. Hello from India. Rory Grimshaw says, that was a fantastic interview. Thanks, dude. I enjoyed it, man. I was a little nervous, I'll be honest with you, because I had never met Troy, and you know, I've watched interviews with the guy, and he is very introspective. And he is very, he at least comes across as very deep thinking. And it's clear that he is. And I didn't know how much I'd be able to connect with the guy on a human level, and you know, to get kind of through that and find the dude. And it was really great. So I hope you guys enjoyed it. Again, tomorrow, 11 a.m., Colin Moriarty will be here. He will take some calls. We will talk video games. It'll be good. We talked about careers and all the drama around Kind of Funny. That's over on his show right now. But tomorrow is, we're going to get more into the weeds about the actual industry that we all love and the video games that we all love. And then I probably will be doing another stream later today because it's early for me. It's just noon here in San Diego. And I will be probably doing some gameplay later this afternoon. In the meantime, take care of yourselves. Thank you so much for joining me. Thank you for the company. Thank you for the conversations. Thank you guys for all the support. And I will see you guys soon. And again, Troy, if you're still listening, thank you, buddy. I appreciate it.